Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about all of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' keys to victory for their week 15, week 15 matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons. This is, as always, some of the things the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can do to give themselves a better chance to win in week number 15 versus the Atlanta Falcons. But I'm not alone in this video. Joining me yet again here on the YouTube channel, you know him, you love him, it's Billy from ON the C. Billy, how are you doing?
Super duper. I'm very excited.
Heck yeah, man. Me too. We actually have a lot of ground to cover right now, so we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right into it, talking about the first key to victory that we both feel is very important for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that is no deep passes in the secondary. Billy, I'm going to read some quotes real quick, and I want to get your thoughts after I read them. So, Bruce Arians, I believe, was asked, or I believe actually it was Todd Bowles was asked, on how well the secondary held up versus the Vikings without cornerback Jamel Dean. Todd Bowles said, "I think they've been doing a good job. Ross Cockrell stepped in and did a great job last week, especially. They are very bright, heady guys. They're more conscious, they're talking a lot more, they're feeding off each other a lot more, so they're getting better with the communication." Then, Todd Bowles was asked on the development of second-year defensive backs Mike Edwards, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Jamel Dean. Todd Bowles had this to say, "Mike has gotten a better grasp of the game at safety. He's a ball hawk naturally, but he's seeing things a lot easier than he saw his first year. Naturally, which he should in his second year. He's playing a lot faster. Murphy-Bunting is probably the headiest of the bunch. He does a lot of things for us, does a lot of the dirty work, and plays a lot of the positions for us. He's been banged up a little bit, but everybody is at that point this year. He's coming around healthy, so we look for him to get better and better. Dean has been banged up the past couple of weeks and hasn't played as much. He started out very well. The more time he gets, the more time in different plays he's starting to see. He's starting to understand the game a lot more, so we're happy with his progression as well." Then, on what cornerback Jamel Dean adds to the defense with his speed and ability, Todd Bowles said, "Obviously, it solidifies us as far as how we started off, having the same guys in there playing fast. When you have a tall corner who can run and get hands on you, and a heady corner, that always helps out. At the same time, Ross Cockrell has stepped in and Sean Murphy-Bunting has stepped outside, and we haven't missed that much of a beat. That speaks to the depth of some of the guys we have playing behind him. You always feel a little bit of the difference when you are down one of your top players, so when and if he comes back, we'll be happy to have him. We just have to make sure he's ready to go." And then finally, I believe Bruce Arians was asked about this, was asked on how cornerback Ross Cockrell has stepped up in his role with cornerback Jamel Dean out. I believe Bruce Arians said this. He says, "There's no doubt Ross has been a great addition to our ball club. He was a great pickup. He is a really heady player, multiple position guy. He's in there at 4:30 in the morning watching film, so he's been a tremendous addition to us and a valuable asset in these last few ball games." So, Billy, with all of those quotes in mind, what do you feel about the situation for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers trying to stop the deep passes in the secondary? Because that is one of the main calling cards of this Atlanta Falcons offense. What do you feel about the safety and cornerback rooms as a whole?
I have a big major switch in my own personal beliefs as far as the Bucs cornerbacks are concerned going forward. I am a big Jamel Dean fan. Ever since that first interception he had in the preseason game against Miami, I remember seeing him out on the field, and I was like, this is one of the biggest corners I've ever seen. I was like blown away by his just size, and then of course in that game he got an interception, so I was just hooked. But I actually really feel like the Buccaneers might be playing better without him on the field. And that's a scary and it's a weird feel. It's a weird sensation in my core, James, because I like Jamel Dean. But the problem I think that Jamel Dean presents the Bucs, not the solution, is he is not a versatile player. He is an outside corner. Carlton Davis is an outside corner. Sean Murphy-Bunting, I think by trade, is an outside corner. However, he's versatile, so he can kick inside, he could do other things. You talked about that in your quote. He's done a lot of the dirty work, right? This is me shoveling, I don't know, dirt, I guess. But he's done a lot of the dirty work. I think the benefit of having Ross Cockrell, he's not an outside corner. He's comfortable in that slot. He's a true, traditional, much more comfortable guy in that nickel role, which allows Sean Murphy-Bunting to actually just play outside at his normal position. So I think it's actually helpful to the Buccaneers, believe it or not, as weird as this sounds, because we know Jamel Dean is a good player, right? We like Jamel Dean. We've seen him make plays, right? How about that interception against the Cardinals last year on Kyler Murray? That was a fantastic play. Love me some Jamel Dean, right? Pick 6 against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But I think for the actual overall unity of the Buccaneers defense, his absence allows them to play more freely as a unit, which is a weird thing to say. It's more about just the personnel styles than the individual player, because I do think Jamel Dean is a good player. But the way the personnel matches up for the Bucs, they're more versatile when he's not on the field. That's just my opinion. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how much love that they were giving, not to just Jamel Dean, but they were giving a lot of love to Ross Cockrell, in those 4 quotes. And I'm a huge Ross Cockrell fan. I liked his time in Pittsburgh. I think that he's an older Sean Murphy Bunting, in my opinion. He can play on the inside. He can play on the outside. He can do everything that you need to do at that cornerback position in terms of versatility. And I think that both Sean Murphy Bunting and Ross Cockrell are a very good foil, or I guess a very good supporting group for a guy like Carlton Davis, say. Yes. Because you have your number 1 outside guy, and then you have your 2 versatile guys, and it's like, okay, cool, that's awesome.
Because we know what Carlton Davis is capable of. He can lock people up.
Right. He's still, he's still my hashtag number 1 corner, So I am excited to get Jamel Dean back. But I'm going to be interested to see what happens here moving forward, coming into the playoffs and, finishing out these last couple of games, because, Todd Bowles said it, kind of alluded to it, where it's like he started off well, then these injuries started happening, and then he really kind of has just been continued to get more hurt and things like that. How is that going to affect his play for the remainder of this season? If he has injury problems, which, we had seen that a little bit coming into the, the pre-draft process and stuff like that before he got drafted, then you may consider playing other guys, giving them more playing time over Jamel Dean, simply because the fact, the best ability is availability. So,
and one of the things that they talked about, the big thing his big compliment of Jamel Dean was that he's fast and he's big, which is true. But he talked about how Jamel Dean has started to grab things, like adjust to the game and things like that, which tells me that he's not as heady a player as Murphy Bunting and Cockrell. Those are 2 guys who completely understand football. They get it inside and out. They're interchangeable. They can go anywhere. Jamel Dean is limited because he's just a better athlete than them, yes, but he's not quite the football IQ guy right now. Early in his career, not everybody develops at the same rate. It's early in his career, so you got to understand that. He's just a different style of player to me than those other 2 guys.
Yeah, I think right now, given the situation, in terms of, saying that, Jamel Dean, he's good. He's got good physical abilities to him. In terms of the mental stuff, though, he still needs to work on that. That would lean me more to say that, maybe playing Sean Murphy Bunting, who might be a little bit more heady, and then playing Ross Cockrell, who's a solid veteran, might be the move there for the remainder of the season, especially if Jamel Dean's still dealing with injuries anyway. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But the next point that we're going to make here, the next key to victory, Billy, is going to be talking about other running backs stepping up. I have a few more quotes here that I'm going to read real quick. So on running back, Leonard Fournette filling in for running back Ronald Jones this week, and how he responded to being a healthy scratch last week. I believe this is Byron Leftwich who gave this quote, Billy. He says, he's been great. He's been here all week putting in work, and he's been working since he got here. It's great for us to have a guy like that that you can lean on, especially with all those guys with Shady and also with Sneak, talking about Keyshawn Vaughn. We've got guys that we really depend on and we believe in, that they can go out there and get the job done. Those guys will have opportunities to get that done with Ronald Jones being down this week, and I'm excited to see the guys play. Then asked on how he adjusts to a different running back receiving most of the playing time this week with running backs Ronald Jones possibly missing Sunday's game. Tom Brady, Buccaneers starting quarterback, had this to say. I think first of all, we're all thinking about Rowe. Obviously a tough week for him when you have an injury and then you have something that comes up with the illness. He's been so reliable, dependable, and consistent for us, even in the offseason. His commitment to making improvements to his game, and I think everyone has a great deal of respect for Rowe and what he's brought to the team. For a young player, he's shown a lot of maturity. He's very selfless. Selfless? Yeah, selfless. I love when he's in the backfield with us, and I have a lot of confidence in him. I played a lot and done a lot of, or no, sorry, I have a lot of confidence in the other backs. Leonard Fournette has played a lot and done a lot of great things. Shady has done a great job. Vaughn has done a great job when he's been in there. We really have a really talented backfield, and we just have to continue to find ways to use them all so they can all be productive. And then finally, on the depth the team created, the running back position, I believe this is Bruce Arians who gave this quote, who said, "I feel very, very comfortable with the depth at running back. Vaughn has come on like gangbusters in the last month, and he's ready to play. Leonard Fournette will do a heck of a job. Shady will do a heck of a job. Kenyon Barner's giving us good depth, so we've got a good quality backfield." So, Billy, it's no secret, Ronald Jones will not be playing this game. He's going to be out. Me and you have both been talking about it through the week, and I speculated it early on in the week as well. Leonard Fournette time. What do you think about the Buccaneers running back situation now with Ronald Jones being out?
I do want to take this moment. We should take a moment and appreciate Ronald Jones. Because Ronald Jones, if Bucs fans who've been here for a little while since he got to the team, it's been an up and down kind of a roller coaster ride. But Ronald Jones is legit. And we could all just take a moment to bask in the fact that it was a good draft pick and he's a good player. Now, that being said, I think everything is like the wheels are greased. Everything is primed for Leonard Fournette to just take off in this game. I do have a lot of confidence that he has the ability to do it. My biggest concern is the Buccaneers holding him back. I don't think there's any scenario where Leonard Fournette carries the ball 25 times for 60 yards, for 70 yards. If you give him the ball 20, 25 times, I think he's going to get you at least like 80 to 90 yards, possibly 100 and a touchdown. Will he get that opportunity? That's kind of the part that scares me. But I do think Leonard Fournette, especially coming off of a benching, I think Leonard Fournette's going to be fueled up and ready to go.
Yeah, I agree, especially, it's like exactly how you said. I don't know if Leonard Fournette's going to get those opportunities. Byron Leftwich had talked last week about coming out of the bye week, playing more play action. Well, you've got to run more consistently. Well, that starts by calling more running plays. So we'll just have to wait and see if Leonard Fournette gets more opportunities. Like you said, I'm confident that if he gets 20 carries, I think he could get close to 100 yards. I feel confident that Leonard Fournette could get probably 100 scrimmage yards in this game if they use him a lot and if they have those opportunities to use him a lot and it doesn't turn into a shootout or things like that. If it does...
And it should. There's no reason to not use him. This is the exact moment you get Leonard Fournette for.
Right. So I would say that if it's not a shootout right away, right, and the Buccaneers are down 14 points or something like that, and they have to pass the ball a ton to try and catch up, I want to see a lot of Leonard Fournette. If they do have to end up passing the ball a ton, I would rather see more LeSean McCoy, I think, in those situations. And honestly, probably a little bit more Vaughn, too, because we actually just talked about this before we recorded. Vaughn was doing good before, as a receiving back a little bit, getting some opportunities, but then he suffered that injury with the concussion and all these other different types of problems. It now seems like he's ready to go. So if it is a running situation where they run the ball a lot, give it to Fournette. If they're trying to pass the ball a lot more in this game, give it to LeSean McCoy and Vaughn, but mainly LeSean McCoy. That's kind of my thoughts on that. But Billy, the next key that we are going to be mentioning here is going to be... it's not going to be a fun one. It really isn't.
I know what it is already.
It's protect Josh Wells. Now, Bruce Arians was asked on Donovan Smith being placed on the illness list. Bruce Arians said he doesn't have any symptoms or anything. It's just the way the situation is right now. It's a wrinkle in the plan, but we've got people that are capable of jumping in and playing. Josh Wells will do a heck of a job. And then, actually, Buccaneers starting right guard Alex Kappa was asked on the challenge of playing without Donovan Smith on Sunday. Alex Kappa said, "I think one of the biggest things that has helped us has been continuity, staying together and playing together for a while. Obviously, we've got confidence in Josh Wells, and we know he's going to go out there and do well. Him and Ali Marpet will hold it down over there." Now, hey, I appreciate that they are sticking up for their player / teammate, right? Bruce Arians, he's like, hey, Josh Wells will play good. Cool. Good job, Bruce Arians, sticking up for your guy. Alex Kappa, yeah, Josh Wells, good teammate. He'll play well. Fine, whatever. You guys can say that. That doesn't make it true. I am not happy with this. I did like that Alex Kappa threw in the fact that he said, Ali Marpet and Josh Wells will hold it down over there. So what are your thoughts on this, Billy?
It makes me sad. Donovan Smith is an enigma in and of himself. It's amazing. He's like one of the most hated Buccaneers, but the second you lose him, tragedy strikes because he's so much better than the option behind him. But it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. For the Bucs, I mean, honestly, I think a huge key, you got to help him out. You have to leave running backs and tight ends in to chip and help him out. You cannot lose this game because Josh Wells loses one-on-one matchups. And that is very possible that he's going to lose a ton in this game. But you cannot let that be the reason that you lose the game. Cannot be the reason. You got to help him out however possible.
Billy, I always like to tell people that I try and be as positive and analytical and fair as I can be on this YouTube channel, right? I think you've known me for a couple of years now, right? I think that is a fair thing to say. Would you agree?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Now, I am not joking when I say that Josh freaking Wells is one of the worst offensive linemen I have ever seen play the sport of football in my entire life. I will never, ever be an offensive lineman in the NFL. I will never be a coach in the NFL. But even an idiot like me can look at my TV screen and go, you know what? I don't think Josh Wells is that good. I need to see the best blocking tight end we've got on this team, be it Anthony Auclair, Rob Gronkowski, whichever one's better. They need to be parked next to Josh Wells the entire game. That just needs to happen. I'm not, that's no joke. Ali Marpet is probably going to have to block two people most of the time during the game because Josh Wells is going to get beat. But if he gets beat on the outside, which usually happens, there's nothing Ali Marpet can do about that. He can't run over and, push that guy over and then block the other guy on the inside. So I need to see a tight end next to Josh Wells, and I need to see Ali Marpet try something to help out too. Because that's the only...
back saddled on Tom Brady's left, ready to chip.
Yeah. That's
the whole game.
That's all they can do. Because...
And the scary thing is, Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich, they don't like to do that. They like to spread it out and have all five eligibles out there, in the pattern. So it will be, if they do it, it will be against their nature to put help over there consistently. Hopefully they realize that sometimes it's better to go against your nature for the betterment of the team, because Josh Wells, I tried to spin it a little bit more positive. You were just, pretty honest. It's not great. It's not great over there.
So let me tell you this too, is another benefit to having a quarterback like Tom Brady is he's going to say, no, you go over here, protection, go this way, because guess what? Josh Wells ain't helping us that much. And look, Josh Wells is a human being, and I'm not going to roast him that much more after this because it's not nice to, that's not a nice thing to do. I want Josh Wells to play good in this game. I think we all do. It's not like we're sitting here going, we hope he plays bad. It's just based on all the information that we have gotten and all of the things that we have seen, little bit worried about going into this game versus the Falcons, but hopefully Josh Wells gets the support that he needs from Ali Marpet, maybe a blocking tight end, maybe a running back as well, and maybe Tom Brady just saying, okay, guys, come on, help him out, please. But Billy, we're going to go to our next point here, which is going to be covering tight ends. Now, this one's going to be a little bit of a quick one here, but it is important to note that out of all the things that Devin White is good at, covering tight ends has not been one of them this year. He has not done a great job of covering tight ends, which is weird because he has the athleticism to do it. It just seems like a head thing. In terms of coverage and things like that, a processing in terms of his coverages. And right now, Hayden Hurst, the starting tight end for the Atlanta Falcons, has 43 receptions, 75 yards rather, and 3 touchdowns. What are your thoughts on Devin White and how he might do against Hayden Hurst, who the Falcons traded for to replace Austin Hooper?
My biggest thing, Devin White, love him, but his coverage To me, he reminds me of a guy we probably, if you played on a football team, right, we've all probably played with a guy like this. He's so good athletically that, like, he's almost too fast and too teed up for his own good, so we can't relax. I feel like that, coverage is kind of an easy, natural flow kind of skill, and Devin White is just, like, amped up all the time. So that's why he's such a good blitzer, and he's so good in the run game, because he's just run and hit and smack you kind of guy. So coverage doesn't play to his strong set. You saw it last week. Kyle Rudolph didn't even play for the Minnesota Vikings, and Irv Smith had a couple big plays, not all of them, on Devin White. The one that did really bother me last week from Devin White was, I believe it was a third or a fourth down. And late in the game, when the Minnesota Vikings were driving to inevitably miss a field goal, Kirk Cousins hit Conklin, who is the Vikings' third-string tight end. We're not even talking about Irv Smith, the backup. We're talking about the third-string tight end. It was like a 4th and 5, and he hit Conklin right over the middle. And it was one-on-one with Devin White, and Devin White gets beat. And now, it's okay to get beat. It really is. But when you get beat across your face by a man whose first name I don't know, his last name is Conklin, I don't know his first name. Devin White, that's a matchup you got to win. Like, ultimately, you cannot. It's one thing to get beat by really good players. That happens to the best of us. But you've got to win the matchups that you should win. And a man named Conklin should not be able to beat you on a 4th down with the game, hanging in the balance. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like you said, Devin White, great blitzer, right? Great blitzer, great run stopper, good. Good at all the things you want a middle linebacker to do, except pass coverage, and with working with Lavonte David, if there's any linebacker in the NFL who could help Devin White with that, it's going to be Lavonte David. So he might just need more time with that aspect of his game. We had talked about, or if you guys haven't seen it yet, some of the quotes talking about Devin White, with Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians and stuff like that. They say he's basically a complete package in terms of leadership and ability and all these different types of things. He just has a little bit more wiggle room to grow.
He's the man.
Yeah. But, the one thing is just, that part of his game, which was...
He has the potential, I don't mean to interrupt, but he has the potential to be like the next Buccaneers Derek Brooks. I don't want to put too much on him, and obviously Derek Brooks was great in coverage, but I'm more less than on the field. I more so mean like in the locker room, in the community, for the Bucs franchise. He has that kind of potential to be that guy, So, and it is only year 2. Like, we could give the guy a little bit of slack, but he has that kind of potential. So we just held to a higher standard naturally.
Yeah, and just to kind of put a cap on this part, Bruce Arians had talked about too, with the current circumstances of the world and everything, it's a lot tougher for these second-year guys to get going in terms of learning and stuff like that. And Devin White's right in that category with being a year 2 player. He said that, Bruce Arians said obviously it's tougher on the first-year guys, but on the second-year guys, it's really rough as well. So for all we know, next season, Devin White could clean up these coverage problems and just be one of the most well-balanced tight end or middle linebackers in the entire NFL, once he starts to learn how to cover tight ends. So he's already doing great. This one aspect of his game, it's not good, and it definitely can't hurt the Buccaneers, but it's not an insane deal breaker in my opinion.
It's workable. That's the thing. You can improve upon it. He'll get better as time goes on. He'll get better.
Right, I agree with that. So Billy, in terms of getting to our last point here, it is attack Matt Ryan. And I talk about this every week, but this time I've got some quotes supporting it. So let's get into this. So Jason Pierre-Paul asked on playing across from outside linebacker Shaq Barrett. Jason Pierre-Paul said, "I just think we're a great duo. You've got duos in the NFL, but with me and Shaq, it's different. We don't argue or anything. It's like, hey bro, I've got this. We're always talking. We play off of each other. There's no competition at all. It's just basically I go out there and tell the man to do his best today. I say I'm going to do my best, and that's it." And then asked on what he likes about playing alongside Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul said, "What I like about Shaq from playing with him last year and this year is he's not a selfish player. He'll take those risks that I'll drop. Other times I'll be like, I'll drop and you take the rush. We're just playing off each other and having fun. We have a lot of fun playing this game together, especially at our position. There's really nothing negative you can say about Shaq. He's a good player, and I'm glad he's on my team and playing on the opposite side of me." So, Billy, what are your thoughts on the duo of Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, and how do you feel they can attack Matt Ryan upcoming in this game?
Jason Pierre-Paul, He's one of my favorite players on the team. Just a dog. Just everything you would want a football player to be, Jason Pierre-Paul finds a way to be it. It's amazing. Like, the guy is awesome. Everything he says, too, is just like, big Jason Pierre-Paul. Big Jason Pierre-Paul. JPP. But Shaq, I've been a little hard on this year. It's just been it's just he set the bar so high last year. He's a victim of his own success, really. Expectations were through the roof for him, To me, he did look great last week against the Minnesota Vikings. I know he had 2 sacks and a safety against Denver, but I thought last week was his best game of the season just because of how he just played harder. He was playing very aggressive, it looked like, last week. I do also buy the point about JPP talking about how selfless Shaq Barrett is. If you've ever seen him in an interview, like heard him talk, he sounds like a very selfless kind of guy and just a team-first mentality sort of player. Honestly, he just comes across that way.
Yeah. I do agree with that. Like you had mentioned, there was a lot of, and I will say, even my, it's biased, it's not biased, but even my thoughts of Shaq Barrett were, at around the halfway point of the season were, okay, he's really got to get going here, because
right.
he
right.
I want him to succeed. I think he can succeed, but he's got to get going here because all of the advanced numbers support Shaq, right, in terms of pressures and all these different types of things, but he's got to finish more in terms of getting these sack numbers, and we're starting to see that a little bit more. I still think both guys are going to finish with double-digit sacks. Shaq needs 2, JPP needs a half a sack, so they've got this.
The thing with Shaq is, like, we could go back through at a different date in a different video, but most of his sacks this year have actually come at irrelevant times in the game. Like, it's scary, but when you really go back through, a lot of his sacks are not genuine, like 3rd and 10, you get the sack to get off the field. That's not what they are. So he's succeeding when the expectation is low and when the pressure is off, which is also a really scary element. But that's a topic for another day. What were you going to say?
Yeah, and it was something we talked about earlier in the year, where there was another quote that Jason Pierre-Paul gave where he talked about the chemistry between Shaq and himself and talked about how they wanted to work on it and work on the communication and things like that. And it seems like now at this point in the year, that's something that they have worked on, and it sounds like things are getting a lot better in terms of communication and chemistry and things like that, which is good because now we're starting to see better results. So I think overall, attacking Matt Ryan with a pass rush duo like this is going to be very important in terms of the communication and the chemistry, and it seems like Jason Pierre-Paul is very happy with it. I'm assuming Shaq Barrett's very happy with it as well. And overall, I feel confident with both these guys here. JPP's gonna be here for a couple of more years. I'm sure Shaq is probably gonna re-sign at some point because Bruce Arians came out and said, I believe last week, something along the lines of saying, hey, Shaq ain't going anywhere, which is the 2nd year in a row he said that. And the first year when he said it, Shaq Barrett got the franchise tag. So we'll see what happens with that contract situation. That can be saved for another video. But what are your thoughts on the chemistry and the communication between those two?
Like I said, I definitely think it's gotten better just because obviously by default it's going to get better. But you look at him last week, Shaq Barrett looked so different. Coming out the bye week, bye week is all about self-scouting. You look inside at your own team, what could we do to get better? And you see Shaq Barrett he was lined up in different spots. He was doing different things than he's, a lot of the times this year we've just seen him edge rush right around the corner, try to beat him with speed. Last week he was much more versatile in his approach to pass rushing, and you saw the fruit bear out from that. He had a much better performance. So I think the chemistry is definitely getting better, and maybe, with Shaq Barrett kind of easing up until the home stretch when he really needed it, maybe.
Yeah. So with that being said, guys, we are going to head and end off this video. Billy, I want to thank you for being on this video. If you guys are interested in seeing ON the Sea, where Billy is now uploading plenty of Buccaneers content for all of us to digest and enjoy. Weird way for me to phrase that, but the point is that you can go watch some more Buccaneers videos on Billy's channel. I've been promoting him the whole season, and I will continue to do so because he's putting out great stuff. So Billy, before we go ahead and end off this video, do you have any final words?
Final words? In the last time we played in Atlanta, Vita Vea scored a touchdown. So I'm hoping something awesome happens. That's what I'm hoping for.
Right? I think we may get something like that. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe Tom Brady will get a receiving touchdown. That would be cool.
I would never stop talking about that, James.
That
Ever.
you never know. You never know. So anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and end off this video here. If you guys do want to go see Billy's channel, again, I will have it pinned in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.